I wasn't withholding blessings out of caution. I was aligning your spirit to carry them correctly. You see, when I open doors, they're not just invitations, they are assignments. They demand discernment, grace, integrity, and spiritual stamina. And now, you carry those things not because you learned them from a book, but because you live them in the shadows. This door has waited for someone who wouldn't twist it for personal gain, who wouldn't rush through it to prove a point, who wouldn't trample the holy ground it protects. That's you. You've become the one I was preparing all along. You didn't just want access, you longed for alignment. You didn't try to break in with ambition, you chose to wait with honor. And now I'm unlocking what I've kept hidden from those who wanted promotion more than presence. What lies ahead isn't just opportunity, it's divine territory. What was locked is now opening, not because you demanded it, but because you became the kind of person who could walk through it without compromising what I've placed within you. You will enter, and you will know this isn't about position, it's about purpose. This isn't about status, it's about stewardship. You were never denied, child. I was waiting for the moment your heart would carry the weight without losing its tenderness. And now that moment has come. Walk forward not with fear, not with pride, but with the quiet confidence of someone who was chosen, prepared, and released for such a time as this. You watched them rise quickly. You saw doors fly open for people who skipped the process, who bypassed the refining, who prioritized speed over substance. And while it looked like you were behind, you were actually being protected. I could have given you the platform, the access, the influence early, but I loved you too much to let what's holy fall into hands still searching for identity. You didn't chase position, you let me purify your motives. You didn't rush to be seen, you waited to be made whole. That's what set you apart. You weren't looking for elevation, you were crying out for transformation. And I heard those cries. I saw how you laid down ambitions others would have pursued. I witnessed how you surrendered opportunities that would have fed your ego but starved your soul. And every time you chose the narrow path, every time you walked away from ease and leaned into the fire of my refining hand, you were aligning yourself with something eternal. You weren't just being shaped, you were being trusted. The path you walked wasn't glamorous, but it was holy. It wasn't filled with applause, but it was covered in my presence. You didn't take the fast route because you knew what I had for you couldn't be microwaved. You let me dig deep, strip away, rebuild. And now what's inside you can't be shaken by crowds or crushed by criticism. Others may have reached places before you, but they won't carry what you carry. Because what rests on you wasn't given quickly, it was formed through fire. And fire doesn't produce fame, it produces purity. That's what I'm placing on you now. Not just favor that impresses people, but substance that transforms them. You won't need to explain why I chose you. The awe will speak. The fragrance of my glory upon your life will testify louder than any introduction. This is why the delay existed, because you were being consecrated for a purpose too weighty to hand out casually. I wasn't being cruel. I was being careful. I wasn't overlooking you, I was overhauling you. So that when this moment arrived, nothing in you would bend under its pressure. And now, as I bring you forward, you'll know this was never about being the fastest, it was about being the purest. Others may try to mimic your path, but they'll never replicate your preparation. Because only those who walk through the fire with me, who lay down reputation for refinement, who choose to be hidden rather than celebrated, only they carry what changes lives, not just rooms. That's who you are now. And that's why I am sending you not as someone who chased the door, but as someone who became the door through which my spirit can enter places few dare to go. Because of your endurance, because of your unwavering heart, because you chose faithfulness over convenience, I am placing a divine protection around what I've called you to steward. What I've built in you will not be left vulnerable to the reach of darkness. I'm assigning heavenly hosts to stand watch over the assignments you are about to walk into. Not because you asked for it, but because you've proven that your life is not your own, that you are carrying something from me that must be shielded from sabotage. These angels are not here to make you comfortable. They are sent to make the path clear and the distractions fall away. They will war where you cannot see. They will block what was never meant to touch you. They will cover you as you move through unfamiliar doors and into spaces that feel larger than your understanding. You may not always see them, but their presence will be undeniable. You'll begin to notice resistance falling off without effort, because the warfare around your calling is no longer yours to fight alone. You honored me in the unseen, and now I will defend you in realms you didn't even know were counting against you. You will walk forward and see obstacles suddenly removed, not by your strategy, but by my command. For what you carry is no longer just about you, it's attached to people who are still trapped in battles you've already overcome. I've raised you to be a vessel of deliverance, and with that weight comes the need for divine security. I will not let the enemy trespass against the territory I've assigned to you. He tried before, but he failed. He whispered lies, stirred confusion, provoked fear, and sent delays, but you remain. And because you did, I now surround your steps with reinforcement. There will be a boldness on you that doesn't come from confidence, it comes from coverage. You walk through threats with peace, through uncertainty with focus, through unfamiliar places with assurance. Because I've gone ahead of you, and my angels are stationed at every intersection, every threshold, every transition point. The gates of your destiny are not open to just anything. I've placed guardians there not to limit you, but to protect what's being birthed through you. These aren't casual assignments, they are eternal ones. The enemy knows he can't stop what I've started, so he'll attempt to distract or delay. But not anymore. Not with what's coming. This next release will move too swiftly for interference. The warfare you used to feel won't have access at the level you're entering. Your atmosphere is changing. Your surroundings are shifting. The environment around your promise is now under divine command. You may feel stretched, but you will not be shaken. You may feel challenged, but you will not be uncovered. I've placed shields around you not just to protect your life, but to preserve your legacy. Walk boldly now. Not carelessly, but with reverence, knowing you're not walking alone. You're walking under orders from heaven, guarded by my army, carrying something far more powerful than what your eyes can yet comprehend. What is unfolding now was written long before your first breath. Before anyone called your name on earth, I had already spoken it in eternity. I etched it into heavenly scrolls, not as a casual mention, but as a declaration marked, sealed, and timed. And now, because you have passed through the refining, the sifting, the testing, those scrolls are being unsealed. The plans I formed in the beginning are now entering their appointed hour. You are not wandering. You are being activated. These scrolls do not contain vague wishes or general hopes. They carry precise instructions, sacred strategies, holy blueprints tailored to your life alone. No one else can walk them out, and no one else was shaped for them. That is why the road behind you has been so narrow, because the call was never meant to be shared or diluted. I didn't create you for imitation. I created you for fulfillment, and the time has come for that fulfillment to begin in full. As these scrolls are opened in the courts of heaven, angels are receiving assignments, territories are being aligned, and timelines are being accelerated. You are stepping into something larger than your own prayers. This isn't just about what you've asked for, it's about what I ordained before time began. This is the intersection where preparation meets manifestation. What you're about to experience isn't random blessing, it's the unfolding of written destiny. You may not have seen the details yet, but you'll feel the pull. Your spirit will begin to recognize moments before your mind can explain them. Conversations will carry weight. Announcements will happen quickly. Instructions will come with urgency. Don't hesitate when you sense it. Move. Act. Obey. Because you are no longer guessing, you're now operating under revelation. This scroll is not filled with theories, it's filled with truth, with appointments sealed by my hand, with encounters I've already arranged. I've hidden it until now, not to withhold, but to protect. What I've inscribed requires a vessel that's been proven in the fire, because once it begins, the flow will not stop. You won't have time to go back and wonder if you're ready. You are. I wouldn't open what I hadn't already prepared you to carry. This is why the last season felt like a press. It was preparing your heart to handle what others only dream about. And now, with heaven's decree in motion, you will feel the weight of divine clarity. You'll walk into places that feel strangely familiar because they were already revealed in the Spirit. You'll speak things you didn't rehearse, yet they will land with power because they were written long ago. You will be in sync with what was settled in heaven, and earth will respond to your alignment. My child, what you are stepping into is not merely opportunity, it is orchestration. You are not moving forward, you are stepping into what's always been yours. The scroll is open. The assignment is active. The timing is now. Go forward with reverence. Go forward with fire. There are revelations I keep veiled not to withhold, but to preserve their weight and purity until I find one who has allowed me to refine them beyond the surface. You are that one. Because you didn't rush past the pain, because you didn't resist the slow work of my hand, because you let me dig beneath your desire to teach you how to carry responsibility, I now open what has been locked away for generations. These mysteries are not vague ideas or poetic words, they are treasures buried deep within my heart, reserved for those I know will not use them to build their own name, but will steward them in silence, in reverence, in fear of the Lord. These truths don't come through striving, they come through surrender. And child, you surrendered. You stayed when the process stretched longer than you expected. You listened without demanding explanation. You followed the lamp I placed at your feet when all you wanted was the full map. That is why I can now whisper what others have never heard. Not because they weren't loved, but because they weren't ready. But you didn't chase revelation for status. You sought me. You wanted my face more than my secrets. And that is why I can trust you now with depth. These aren't surface-level insights to impress the room. These are keys to unlock freedom in places bound for far too long. These are blueprints that will restore the broken, rebuild the weary, and expose the enemy's schemes before they ever reach your door. I am not giving you knowledge to feed your intellect, I'm releasing strategy to awaken destiny. What I show you now must be guarded, not broadcast. It must be prayed over, not performed with. I'm handing you things that shift bloodlines, that uproot generational patterns, that carry healing for nations not with noise, but with spiritual precision. Be mindful of how you carry what I place in your spirit. Is oil, not water. Is fire, not fluff. You will begin to perceive things others overlook. You'll sense things before they surface. You'll see beneath what appears normal. That sensitivity is not strange, it is sanctified. I've heightened your discernment not to isolate you, but to instruct you. You'll know when to speak, and when to seal your lips. You'll feel when to press in, and when to stay hidden. The mysteries I give are not for control, they are for commission. And I'm sending you now not just with a message, but with divine codes written into your spirit that will unlock chains in others without a word. You'll walk into rooms and the atmosphere will shift not because of your presence, but because of what I've planted inside you. That's what happens when I entrust a vessel with mystery. They become carriers of my movements. They no longer rely on methods. They move with me in rhythm. And that's what you are now, one who walks with me not just in the visible, but in the unseen. You are no longer guessing. You are discerning. And I will continue to pour as long as you remain yielded, empty of ego, full of awe. What I have shown you is just the beginning. There is more, much more. But for now, walk in what I've revealed and let it do what only heaven's truth can accomplish. There's a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from age or education, it comes from intimacy. It is forged in quiet surrender, in the still places where noise is stripped away and my voice becomes your anchor. Many cried out for this wisdom. Many asked for insight, for deeper revelation, for divine understanding. But they wanted it quickly, without the patience required to carry it correctly. They wanted answers, not alignment. They sought strategy without submitting to process. But you chose to remain when the weight became uncomfortable. You lingered in the shadows when others moved on. You didn't demand answers. You asked for my heart. And in that posture, wisdom began to take root in you, not the kind that speaks louder, but the kind that sees clearer. And now, because you did not abandon the waiting room of my presence, I am imparting insight that carries weight. You will walk into situations and see layers others cannot detect. You'll perceive motives beneath actions, discern traps hidden behind opportunities, and sense timing when logic says move. This is not suspicion. It's sacred knowing born from me, not from fear. You won't speak to impress. You will speak to unlock. When you open your mouth, it won't be to fill space, but to deliver keys. Your words will carry healing, correction, and clarity, not because you rehearsed them, but because I authored them. This is what the waiting was for. It wasn't wasted time. It was training time. You were being calibrated to think like heaven, to hear beyond surface noise, to lean into moments others rush past. I watched how you responded when others were praised for things you were quietly faithful in. I saw your restraint. I noted your humility. And now I trust you with a wisdom that changes rooms without needing attention. This is wisdom that walks in silence, that solves problems without needing credit, that advises kings without needing a throne. I am surrounding you with decisions that impact more than you. I am placing you in moments that will require more than good ideas. They'll demand discernment rooted in eternity. Don't shrink back. Don't question your ability. This isn't about your knowledge, it's about my spirit resting upon you. The same spirit that hovered over the chaos in the beginning and brought order now hovers over your life, releasing divine clarity in every assignment I hand to you. Some may not understand how you know what you know. Let them wonder. You don't need to explain favor that was forged in faithfulness. You don't need to justify insight that came from sacrifice. Just walk in it. Steward it well. Speak when I nudge. Wait when I whisper. And trust that what I have placed within you has been made ready for such a time as this. I am not giving you this wisdom to impress crowds. I am giving it to equip you to transform cultures, dismantle deception, and guide others into what they did have the patience to pursue themselves. You waited, and now what you carry will outlast the ones who didn't. What I'm placing in your hands now is not a prize given to the loud or the ambitious. It is an inheritance reserved for those who learned how to wait without bitterness. You didn't pace the floor demanding results. You didn't try to force outcomes or manufacture fruit. Instead, you stood quietly in the field I planted you in, with your face lifted toward me even when the sky offered no sign. That is the posture I honored, not the rush to produce, but the willingness to endure. You waited not with clenched fists, but with open hands. You waited not with frustration, but with reverence. And that kind of waiting is never passive, it's powerful. In your stillness, your spirit grew strong. In your patience, your character took shape. I saw how you held your peace when others flaunted their temporary victories. I watched you serve with excellence when the room was empty. You didn't chase validation, you chose obedience. And because of that, what I give you now is not temporary or fragile. It is durable. It is rooted in something eternal. Pride would have rushed the process. Arrogance would have tried to grab what I wasn't yet giving. But you waited, and waiting shaped you into someone who can be trusted with longevity, not just promotion. Now the reward comes, not because you performed, but because you endured with your heart in alignment. You didn't cut corners. You didn't make excuses. You bore the discomfort of delay without using it as a license to disobey. And while others assumed nothing was happening, I was preparing everything. I saw your restraint when opportunities arose that didn't match your calling. I noticed how you stayed planted when it would have been easier to uproot and run. You waited well, not just in body, but in attitude. And now, the doors I open will not just be wide, they will be sustained. I do not reward patience with small things. I reward it with impact, with influence that cannot be faked, with favor that rests rather than fades. This is not the kind of blessing that flickers like a flame in the wind. This is enduring fire, born out of trust and tended through process. Others may marvel at what suddenly appears in your life, but you will know the truth. Nothing about this was sudden. Every step was counted. Every tear was sacred. Every moment of silence was packed with meaning. And now, the fruit of your waiting is ready to be revealed. Don't rush to explain it. Don't feel the need to defend the timing. Just receive it with the same quiet confidence you showed while waiting. You've been trained in the slow pace of heaven's calendar, and now you will walk in the rhythm of promises fulfilled not by force, but by faithfulness. This reward could not have come through pride, it only flows through patience. And you, beloved, have worn that patience like a crown in secret. Now I place a different crown upon you, one of authority, clarity, and honor. Not for the sake of position, but for purpose. You waited, and I have seen. You endured, and I will now respond. The time of release is here. It's easy to offer devotion when eyes are watching, when affirmation follows effort, when recognition is visible and tangible. But I had to see what remained when no one noticed, when your offering was hidden, when the room was empty and the applause had faded. I had to watch how you served when there was no stage, no crowd, no audience, just you and me. That kind of worship is not made with sound. It's forged in surrender. When you gave your best in the shadows, when you chose excellence without reward, when you held on to integrity even when no one clapped, I was there. I watched. I listened. I recorded every silent yes. You didn't need confirmation to continue. You didn't require attention to remain faithful. That is what set you apart. That is what proved your heart belonged to me and not to the outcome. You ministered in hidden places without becoming bitter. You offered what you had not for credit, but because you loved me more than the comfort of being seen. I sent silence not as rejection, but as revelation. I needed to show you what still lived in your heart when the noise was stripped away. And what I found was golden. You didn't grow cold when no one celebrated you. You didn't lower your standard when it felt like no one was receiving. You kept pressing forward, kept showing up, kept pouring out. That consistency, birthed in obscurity, carries more weight than any public moment ever could. What you did in secret has created a fragrance that fills the heavens. I never needed you to prove yourself to others. I needed you to be faithful in the quiet so I could prove my presence in ways no crowd ever could. And because you did not demand to be acknowledged, I can now entrust you with influence that won't corrupt your soul. Because you did not require a platform, I can now raise you without fear that you'll lose your footing. What you've built with me in the silence has become a sanctuary I can dwell in. And now, I will begin to surround you with moments that carry a sound not of applause, but of impact. The silence was the furnace. Now comes the resonance. Your voice will carry not because it is loud, but because it is full. Full of me. Full of truth. Full of purity that has been tested in the absence of applause. Those who hear you won't be drawn to charisma, they'll be pulled by something deeper. They'll feel peace when you speak. They'll feel my presence when you move. Because everything you carry now is not the result of performance, it's the result of patience. I am the one who rewards those who choose me in quiet places. And you did again and again. You passed the test of obscurity, and now I open the doors not just to places, but to people who are desperate for something real. And when they ask how you kept going, how you stayed devoted, how you stayed pure, you'll smile, not with pride, but with remembrance. You'll remember the silence that shaped you. You'll remember the nights that no one saw. And you will know this isn't about you being celebrated. It's about me being glorified through a life that chose me when no one else was watching. There were moments when the opportunity to prove yourself stood wide open. You could have spoken to defend your name, displayed your strength, highlighted your achievements, or pushed your way to the front. But instead, you stayed low. You chose the back row. You chose silence when you could have shouted. You chose submission when you could have demanded to be seen. That restraint was not weakness, it was wisdom. It was the fear of the Lord. It was a posture of a heart that knows where real promotion comes from. While others hurried to elevate themselves, you let me lift you at the right time. I watched you take the seat of the unseen and refuse to boast. I watched you applaud others when they were celebrated for things you carried in secret. And I saw you walk away from moments where you could have advanced by your own hands, choosing instead to wait for my hand. The choice wasn't easy. I saw the cost. I saw the ache when others bypassed the process. Receiving recognition, you quietly surrendered. I saw how you held your peace when people misunderstood your heart. That was the test. Not just of patience, but of posture. Not just of timing, but of trust. I needed to know if your loyalty was to my plan or your platform. I needed to see if you would still carry honor when honor wasn't being placed on you. And child, you passed. You didn't let ambition hijack your anointing. You didn't allow frustration to poison your offering. You kept walking the narrow path, not seeking eyes to notice, but desiring only mine to smile. That is why I am now raising you, not because you fought your way up, but because you knelt your way through. You didn't claw for position. You didn't manufacture momentum. You didn't chase the spotlight. You let me be your light in the hidden place. And now, I will honor you openly, not for the sake of attention, but because the oil you carry is too costly to remain confined. This is not a reward, it's a responsibility. I can now trust you to walk into greater influence without becoming inflated. I can surround you with authority without fearing pride will corrupt what I've built. Because when you had the chance to build your own name, you chose to exalt mine. I will bless that decision in ways beyond your imagination. Doors will open, not through pressure, but through purity. Invitations will come, not because of your striving, but because of your surrender. And when the spotlight finds you, you will shine, but the glow will point to me, not you. The way you carried humility has made space for something rare, glory that rests without wounding the vessel. This was never about being the best, it was about being empty enough for me to fill completely. You passed the humility test. And now I'm placing upon you a mantle that cannot be bought, borrowed, or imitated. It only rests where pride has been stripped and yieldedness remains. Carry it carefully, walk with reverence, and never forget what is coming didn't arrive by your hand, but by mine. You've been through seasons where the fruit of your labor remained hidden, where your obedience felt invisible, where your yes cost you more than anyone realized. But I have seen every detail, every time you kept going without reward, every moment you honored me when no one applauded, every sacrifice you made in silence. And now, the hour has come when what I've placed upon you will be recognized, not because you campaigned for recognition, but because I ordained this moment from the beginning. This elevation is not the result of influence, talent, or favor with people. It is the manifestation of faithfulness when no one was watching. This is my hand, not theirs. This is my doing, not your striving. This is the portion I reserved for the one who didn't ask to be lifted, who didn't push their way forward, who didn't crave a spotlight but carried a secret flame for me in the dark. I am exalting you in a way that cannot be argued or reversed. It won't be subtle. It won't be mistaken. It will be undeniable because it will bear the marks of something not built by man. Others will look and wonder how. They'll question where it came from, how it happened so suddenly. But you will know it was never sudden. It was slow. It was steady. It was sacred. It was born in quiet obedience and watered with tears only I collected. What's rising now isn't based on visibility, it's rooted in depth. I buried you deep so you couldn't be pulled up by storms. I allowed seasons of stillness to grow your stability. And now, with your foundation secure, I can build higher than you expected without fear that the structure will collapse. You won't just be lifted, you'll be sustained. I'm not releasing a moment of influence, I'm placing you into a mantle of impact. What I raise, no hand can tear down. What I promote, no jealousy can hinder. What I bless, no opposition can block. This is the fulfillment of what you didn't even fully understand when you first said yes. You obeyed without seeing the finish line. You trusted without needing details. And now I'm placing upon you a weight of glory that cannot be earned or explained. It will not be loud, it will be lasting. It will not be dramatic, it will be divine. I'm not placing you where people can praise you. I'm positioning you where my presence can pour through you. This next chapter isn't about celebration, it's about commission. I'm assigning you to places you didn't expect, giving you access to rooms you didn't ask for, surrounding you with people you are called to serve, not impress. I've hidden you long enough. Now I reveal the work I've been doing, not for your ego, but for my eternal purpose. You will walk with authority, but it will rest lightly on your shoulders because your heart remains bowed. You will carry influence, but it will never own you. You will speak, and walls will fall not because of your voice, but because of the power behind it. This is my doing. This is my timing. And you are ready not because you feel prepared, but because your posture has proven trustworthy. Walk forward now with confidence, not in yourself, but in me. What I am doing cannot be undone. There was a moment, perhaps forgotten by everyone else but unforgettable to me and to you, when I placed a quiet word inside your spirit. It came not with thunder, but with tenderness, an impression so gentle that you doubted if it was real. Yet even in your uncertainty, you chose to believe. Even without proof, you guarded it like a treasure. And that seed I whispered into your heart during a time when nothing aligned with it, that seed is now coming into full bloom. You waited while others dismissed it. You held it close while voices told you to be more realistic. You watered it with trust, even when the ground looked barren. And now, what you carried in secret I will reveal in full light. Not because it's just time, but because your heart has matured enough to hold the fulfillment without becoming consumed by it. You no longer crave the outcome, you cherish the one who gave the word. That shift changed everything. It moved you from hoping for a breakthrough to becoming a vessel through which breakthroughs flow. This promise was never just about your future, it was about your transformation. And child, you are no longer the one who received that whisper years ago. You've been reshaped by fire, by silence, by seasons where my presence was your only confirmation. And in those seasons, the word I spoke didn't diminish, it deepened. It rooted itself into your identity until it no longer felt like a distant hope, but a living truth woven into your very being. That's why what's coming now is not a surprise, it's a homecoming. It's the visible merging with the invisible. It's the manifestation of something I've been cultivating in the soil of your spirit for far longer than you realize. And when it comes, when the door opens, when the conversation happens, when the opportunity appears, you will not question it. You will recognize it, because it will feel like the inside of your heart put into motion. You won't feel foreign. You will feel familiar, because it came from me and it's being fulfilled by me. I am not a God who teases my children. I am not one who plants dreams and forgets them. I am faithful to complete what I began. But I do it in my timing, not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. And now, with your heart purified, your motives surrendered, your desires aligned, I can trust you with what you once only dreamed of. The unveiling will be gentle, yet powerful. It won't come with noise, but it will carry a weight no one can deny. It will be obvious to those around you that this was not man-made. It wasn't manufactured. It was mine start to finish. And as you walk into it, do not shrink. Do not apologize for what I'm giving. You did not steal this. You didn't force it. You received it. And now you will live it. Others may ask where it came from. You'll wonder how it all came together. But you will know. It started in a whisper. It was sealed in surrender. And now, it is fulfilled in glory. There was a moment when no one stood beside you, when you were surrounded not by affirmation, but by silence. And yet, in that stillness, you whispered a promise to me. You didn't make it to get something, you made it because something in your soul burned with devotion, even when nothing around you made sense. That vow may have been uttered through tears, in the depth of night, with trembling hands or a weary voice, but it reached me. And I never let it fall to the ground. I held it. I cherished it. I etched it into eternity, not as a demand upon you, but as a declaration of your heart's posture toward me. Others may have forgotten what they once told me in desperation, walking away when the cost became inconvenient. But not you. You remembered. Even when fulfilling it cost you comfort. even when it delayed other desires, even when it required sacrifice. You didn't treat that vow like a temporary emotion, you let it shape the choices that followed. And now I speak to you from that very place of remembrance, not to burden you with obligation, but to honor the purity with which you offered yourself to me. Your promise became the foundation of something far greater than you imagined. It wasn't just words, it was surrender. It wasn't performance, it was covenant. And I do not forget covenants. I do not overlook hearts that pour themselves out in secret. What you committed to in private, I now prepare to fulfill in public. Not because you demanded it, but because you never wavered. When your surroundings shifted, you stayed consistent. When others gave in to ease, you stood in resolve. When the voice of doubt whispered to let it go, you lifted your hands and renewed your yes. And now, I come to reaffirm that I remember. I am the God who does not overlook the faithful. I am the one who sees what others cannot. And I say this to you now, what was spoken in tears will be answered in power. What was vowed in pain will be fulfilled in peace. I will not allow the purity of your offering to be ignored. I will not let the cost go unnoticed. Because while many offered promises with conditions, yours came with reverence. While others sought guarantees, you asked only for me. And that is why I am returning to the place of your surrender, not to revisit your weakness, but to reward your strength. That promise, which you almost forgot in the whirlwind of trials and the passage of time, I have kept alive. And now I breathe fresh wind upon it. You will see it awaken again, not as a dream, but as a direction. Not as a hope, but as a calling that begins to unfold before you. You'll know it when it comes. It will resonate like a familiar echo. It will stir something ancient inside you. It will call to the version of you that made that vow, not the weary you, not the wounded you, but the one who first believed I was worth everything. And child, I was. I am. I still am. And now, because you remembered me in that vow, I will remember you in this unveiling. Your faithfulness has not gone unnoticed, and your obedience has reached my throne. What you promised, I will now empower you to walk out with strength. There were days when the shadows closed in and the path felt impossible to follow. You didn't have signs to hold on to, only my name. You weren't surrounded by celebration, only by resistance. And yet, you chose to look upward. You spoke my name through your tears, trusted me when logic gave up, honored me when your circumstances seemed to dishonor you. That posture of remembrance when everything in your world pushed against faith moved my heart in a way words can't describe. You didn't forget who I was when you were pressed. You didn't trade reverence for resentment. You didn't allow pain to distort my goodness. And because of that, the place I now lead you into will be unlike anything you've known before. You're not ascending by effort, you're being lifted by promise. The valley did not define you, it refined you. It did not bury you, it built you. And now I take you from the place where everything felt like loss to a position where legacy begins. You won't carry the dust of discouragement into this new elevation, you'll carry the oil that came from being crushed without breaking. This mountain is not a reward for survival, it's a platform for assignment. From here, you will see what you could never perceive when the fog of trial clouded your view. I will give you perspective that sees from above the pain, above the chaos, above the misunderstanding. You will look back and understand why it had to happen the way it did, not just for your growth, but for your authority. You will speak from this place, and others will listen not because your voice is louder, but because your journey has given it weight. I'm not bringing you here to boast, I'm positioning you to build. From this higher ground, I will reveal strategies you could not receive in the valley. Your hearing will be sharper. Your pace will be steadier. Your confidence will not come from results but from revelation. You will no longer wonder if I am with you, you will feel me walking beside you in every step. You will no longer question your value, I will confirm it with clarity and consistency. You will no longer shrink when doors open, I will give you strength to step through them with holy boldness. What you learned in the valley, dependence, discipline, discernment, will now sustain you in this season of expansion. I am establishing you not temporarily, not conditionally, but permanently. not by man's hand but by mine. And no wind will be able to tear down what I plant now. You are not rising because the storm ended, you are rising because your spirit was anchored. The elevation you are entering will not intoxicate you, because you remember what it felt like to walk with nothing but faith. That memory is sacred. Keep it. Let it remind you that you are here not because you demanded the mountain, but because you were faithful in the valley. You chose me when it was hardest. You followed me when the trail disappeared. And now I honor you not with empty recognition, but with eternal positioning. From this place, others will find safety because of your stability. They will find clarity because of your endurance. You will guide with humility because you've been guided by me through pain. The valley was preparation. The mountain is placement. And I have placed you for a purpose that cannot be shaken. There is a kind of formation that happens where no one can see. When the light is absent and the stage is empty, that's where true identity is forged. And you didn't despise that place. You didn't resent the quiet seasons where it felt like you were invisible to the world. You didn't chase platforms to validate your value. You allowed me to do the deep work without needing a spotlight to feel significant. That patience, that humility, that silent devotion, it became the very proof that you were ready for what others only pretended to carry. You didn't market yourself. You didn't force visibility. You chose character over clamor. And because of that, I will now make known what I've been shaping in the shadows. I am bringing you into a space of divine recognition not because you shouted to be seen, but because you remained faithful when no one saw you at all. This isn't about fame. It's about fulfillment. This is not about being elevated by people, it's about being revealed by purpose. The time has come for what I cultivated within you to speak for itself. The depth you carry cannot be hidden anymore, not because you're stepping out, but because I'm unveiling what I placed inside you. Those around you will begin to recognize the weight of my hand upon your life. They'll notice not because you announce it, but because my glory will rest in ways that can't be denied. The very areas where you were once overlooked will now become places where your presence carries influence not for control, but for kingdom advancement. You will walk into rooms and carry peace. You will speak, and atmospheres will respond. Not because of training, but because of transformation. You allowed me to shape you when it would have been easier to chase shortcuts. You embraced the unseen when others demanded attention. That posture created a vessel I can now trust with visibility. You will not lose yourself in it, because you never built yourself on it. This affirmation is not coming from people, it's coming from me. And what I affirm, no man can reverse. I will place you where others tried to block you. I will raise your voice in places that once dismissed you. Not for revenge, but for redemption. Your story is not meant to stay buried. It's meant to breathe life into those still hidden, still waiting, still wondering if their quiet obedience matters. Through your journey, they will see that I never forget those who remain loyal in the background. You will become a living sign that hidden seasons are not wasted, that surrender is never in vain, that obedience without applause is the very thing that positions a soul for divine assignment. So do not be surprised when honor comes. Do not resist it out of false humility. Receive it as confirmation that your heart passed what few ever endure. Receive it knowing it's not about status, it's about stewardship. The recognition that comes now is not an arrival, it's an awakening. You're not just being seen, you're being sent. And I will send you where only the faithful can go. Amen.